Hi.
Hi,
Sorry
hi.
about that. I was just signing off from the other the meeting that was on, but I had to. Something moved me to have to say something to somebody. So you know, so forgive me. I only hope that it helped that person. Um, I'll start off with saying who I am. I'm Jean, otherwise known as Auntie Jean, the creator of the Auntie Jean's African Culture Market. And through the African Culture Market has led to the birth of the Garvey Village, which is a community centre with a difference that we are looking to materialise. I won't go on to too much about that, but that's basically who I am. And welcome to this platform. This platform, basically, I'm hosting, but it's our sister Kesheni, whose idea this is that we are moving forward with, because it's a gap in our market that we don't really address. And you know, we give thanks to Sister Kesheni for addressing such, you know, a sensitive topic that nobody really wants to talk about. So, but everybody needs to talk about it. So, Sister Kesheni, I thank you for bringing this to our table. I'd like to say thank you to the Most High, the Ludamari, the creator of all things, creatures great and small, the earth that we stand upon, the air that we breathe. Could you please put your
I've muted
on
everybody.
mic, please? Have you muted it?
I've muted you. Oh, you need to unmute yourself. Sorry.
The earth
Apologies.
that we stand upon, the air that somebody want me to hear me talk, anyway.
Yes, we do. Want to hear you.
The air that we breathe, the sunshine that gives us the warmth and life, and also the water that gives us life. I give thanks to the Most High for, as I said, the food that we eat as well. So if it wasn't for the Most High, we wouldn't be here. So I give thanks.
Ashe.
I also give thanks to our ancestors who got taken away from the shores of our home and dotted all the way around the world. Their plight, what they witnessed, what they went through, could never have been easy. I don't know if I could have lived that time, but yet again, I believe I did live that time, but I can't remember everything. So I'm glad that I can't remember that time, but I suppose we do get that feeling every now and again when we hear something deep down resonates with you. So even though we can't probably remember all details, but you do have that wrenching feeling of sorrow, that, you know, when you hear certain things, and even though you think you've heard it all, you know, there's always other stuff that our ancestors actually went through. So I give thanks for their tenacity. I give thanks for their willing to live, because a lot didn't live. Some took their own lives, some lives was taken, and what they went through, it's amazing that anybody survived, and the fact that they had a willingness to survive and also bring forth children. You know, if it wasn't for their survival, for their tenacity to keep on going, we wouldn't be here today. So for those ancestors, I say thank you and ashe. I also give thanks to our heroes, our leaders, and our heroes and our sheroes, the leaders and the heroes and sheroes that's kicked down those doors, the ones that's opened those pathways for us, the ones that let us know that we can rise up. We don't have to be subservient. We don't have to take what's given to us. We can fight back. We can stand up. And it's time we stood up, because our backs now are against the wall, and it's time for us to start pushing forward now to what we need for ourselves and for ourselves. So for those leaders and heroes, as I said, my favorite I saw behind Laura was the Right Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. There's too many for me to name, so I just name my favorite. But the names that we know, the names that we don't know, and names that we never know and will never know. but they all help to pave the way, to help us to be the people who we are today, to strive forward. For those ancestors, the leaders, the heroes and our sheroes in our lives, as our ancestors, I say thank you and ashe.
Ashe.
I also give thanks to my lineage. I give thanks to your lineage, whose heads and shoulders, who we all stand upon, the good ancestors, who's there with us all the way, who's there guiding us, who's been there from the time that we are born, from the time that we pass on to the ancestors and back again. I give thanks to those good ancestors who's there to guide us, who's there even when we think that we're alone, we're not alone, they are actually there. And we've got to remember that they're also there for guidance. We have to ask them. They're waiting for us to ask them for guidance, ask them for help, ask them for us to show us the way, if we're on the right path or not. They're there. And so when they do answer us, let their answers be as clear as this water, and let our minds be open so that we can receive those messages, because those messages are going to be coming in all many different forms of way. It's not going to come in a way that we sort of like, we can hear something and it's you know, and like somebody's given us a message, and it's not going to be like that. You see a sign, you know, it could be a line in a song that you hear, somebody says something and it will resonate with you. So when we ask the questions, let us remember that we've asked the questions and look out for those signs, and our mind be open, because the signs are going to come in many different ways. So for our good ancestors who's with us all the way, whose heads and shoulders who we stand upon, I say thank you and ashe.
Ashe.
I'd like to say thank you to my grandmother, who I've never met, but I know that she's always with me. I've been told she's always with me. And her name is Stefan Bailey. So Stefan Bailey, I thank you and say ashe.
Ashe.
I also say thank you to my mother, who, if she wasn't the person who she was, I wouldn't be the person who I am. So I say thank you to Iona Pinnock and ashe.
Ashe.
I also say thank you to my grandfather, who's been a rock in my life, and basically I wouldn't be the person who I am today. I'll probably be somebody else, somewhere else, if it wasn't for him. So I say a big thank you to my grandfather. We called him Mr. Stair, but his name was Hubert Stair. So Hubert Stair, I say thank you and ashe. Is there anybody else who'd like to say thank you to loved ones or people who they've known that's been in their lives as past? And I'd like to say thank you and ashe. You can unmute yourselves and say if you'd like to. Okay.
Yep, I would like to say thank you dearly to my grandma Ivy Duncan. Thank you for being with me every step of the way.
Ashe, Ivy Duncan.
And to Elizabeth Johnson and Nana Johnson, my grandmother's grandmothers. I thank you, thank you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be me. Ashe.
Ashe, thank you.
And to Wilbert Pusey, my granddad.
Okay, Wilbert.
Ashe.
Ashe.
I would like to remember my ancient mother, Mama, and my ancestors, Adamu Pasha Mama. Thank you.
Ashe.
The bloodline of my mother, Ina Waterman, my father, Jola Demolagi.
Ashe. 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 Anybody else? Okay. I'll take that as we're all okay. So I'd like to introduce you to our, as I say, our hostess with the mostest, Sister Kesheni. I'd like to introduce yourself and let people know who you are, what you're doing, and why we're here.
Give thanks, give thanks. So give thanks. So now we're here now to have a discussion. And a couple of things, as some of you came in, I was playing a track by Yvonne Shaka Shaka, Ukomboti, which is the name they give to the traditional beer that they make. So it would be South Africa. And the reason I've done that, some of you have not seen the video, but those that did, partly it's because we're here to mark and talk about a rite of passage aspect. And it is a celebration as well as a grieving of loss and all the aspects that go with that. But today in particular is because we've just had a full moon, and now the moon is waning and it's moved into a new sign. It's now in the sign of Scorpio. And through discussion with Sister Sandy, we found that Scorpio, that Pluto and Mars is what is in action. And this is Oya and Ogun. And Ogun drinks beer. And beer is something that would be presented at traditional gatherings to do with death and the ceremonies and so on, as well as other drinks, but it would be something that will be present and obviously directly from the land, in terms of something like palm wine, directly from the palm, or made with corn and things like that. So very natural, very clear. And so, and Oya is the one that is at the gateway to the other realm, that is beyond our realm, where the ones who have transitioned go to. And it is through Oya that they go through that gateway. She stands at the gateway. And she's also at the first one with the ancestors. And today is Ancestors Day. It's Obatala Day, or Orishanla Day. And that's the spirit of the white cloth. Obatala doesn't really drink beer though, too much beer. I think is a taboo for Obatala, so it doesn't quite go with that. But so it's a time of the Ancient of Days, and Obatala is the energy of creation. He's the one that Olodumare commissioned to create the bodies, and particularly the head. So focus and clarity and purity is what Obatala is, and hence he wears white. So he's that cloth, and it's about the fabric, if you like. The metaphor of the cloth is also the fabric of life, the weave and the weft of it, and so on. And the purity of making that which covers our body, but is used in other ways, but it's a covering that we wear. And that is something that sits within this realm of what we wear during our life, and then about our death. And what is that about? So this session is for us. It's a smaller session because we are the ones that have looked at this realm and be participating as providers in that realm, and offering, looking at something there that is relevant in some way to us. I've popped out 1 second and I've popped back in. And so just to, round that up, that's what we're here to look at. And with our sister Laura, in relation to the facility that she has. Those of us here have been in on sessions in November and December about death and dying. And so we came to some discussion, which we also did in January. And we are now looking to see how we come together to bring about aspects that we've talked about and want to see in our community. So thank you so much for being present. Really appreciate that you are here. And I hand over back to you, Auntie Jean, as you introduce Laura.
Thank you, Sister Kesheni. Yes, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Laura Pusey. And Laura, please introduce yourself. Let us know who you are and what you do, and what today is going to be all about. So I say welcome, and the screen is now yours.
Okay, thank you so much for having me, Auntie Jean, and for welcoming me to speak to your audience. So thank you, everybody. As you've heard, my name is Laura Pusey, and I have been fascinated, let's say, with the subject of death ever since I was very young. My mother used to work as a nurse in a hospital. She was on a ward with people who had cancer, and she would come in from work every morning, and I'd be sitting at the table having my breakfast, and I'd say, "Did anybody die?" And she'd either say yes or no, and then talk me through the process. So death has always been something that has fascinated me for some reason. And I will be doing a presentation shortly, but it's recently that things are taking off. And I just want to thank Sister Kesheni for listening to Spirit, for being the woman that she is, to enable the two of us to come together to have some really inspirational conversations. So I will now start my presentation. Just going to share my screen with you, or should be well. Here we go. So okay, it should be coming up shortly. Okay, so I am Laura Pusey, and the presentation that I'm about to give you now is one that I've not been able to. It's a long story, but after speaking with Sister Kesheni raised an interesting question. The name of my organisation was NAFO UK, National Association of Funeral Operatives. And the question that was asked was just a clarification of what the A stands for, whether it's national or African. So the name has since changed to the Federation of African Caribbean Funeral Operatives. So I will be explaining more about that as we go along. And I also have a website that I will be talking you through as well. So the inspiration for this organisation. In the summer of 2015, my aunt passed away. She was diagnosed with cancer that developed after she discovered the truth of her paternity. Not in full, many of the details were still held away from her. But because she was unable to speak of her hurt at this deception, she developed a cancer that I'd say was more akin to her, or maybe led to her demise. In truth, she died of a broken heart. At that time, my uncle and my cousins, they didn't have access to a network of brothers and sisters. They were not part of an organisation or really part of the community. And so they didn't know who to go to, who does flowers, and who were the operatives in their area who were of African Caribbean persuasion. So the funeral was a small one that was handled largely by people with no colour, let's say. It was then that I realised that we needed to have an organisation that catered for the operatives, coming together as one, so that if anybody does pass away, we can say this person, that person, we know there. So NAFO UK emerged from the combination of my aunt's passing and the fact that I was going to more and more funerals and noting that we weren't the ones who were conducting the service. So there is a problem, a rather large problem. It has become commonplace for us now to pass away in a hospital setting. It is a cold and sterile environment, and family participation is disencouraged where necessary, where they deem necessary, where anywhere possible. We are reduced to visiting times. But is that the right way for us to be transitioning? The medical model is geared more towards the symptom. It's geared towards hushing up the event of the transition. And so largely it is now an unsocial thing to talk about or to experience within our communities, whereas there was a time when this really was a community event. What 2020 has shown us is that we really don't know what's going on inside our hospitals. We know that our lives and our bodies are not respected as much as they should be, but we don't really know the depth of what happens behind those closed doors. Another problem, as previously touched upon, is that our funerals are conducted by people who do not know us. They do not know our community or our culture. And the services reflect that. Often not a celebration of life, that which we are used to having. So death now is rather feared within society. And we seem to have inherited that. And there's a distance now between us and the way that we traditionally passed away or moved on, to the point where we are at the mercy of the high street. Funeral directors up and down the high street are actively embracing the regular practice of upselling to African and Caribbean people where they can. And they expect us to spend large amounts of money. And so we do, for many different reasons. But all they want is our money. They certainly do not want us to be part of their industry. And in truth, we have kept them afloat for quite a long time. By working together, I believe that we can eliminate the funeral poverty that grips our communities at this time. We've really got this. There is nothing that we can't do. We can conduct our own funerals. We can help our family members and our friends in their transition through the passage of death. We can do for ourselves, but we may not realize that we have the tools and the abilities within our own homes and within our communities. So, my vision. Since 2015, my wish for the future was to have an association that serves as an umbrella with an agency of doulas and celebrants and an agency of therapists and counsellors that work together as a network across the UK to provide a standardised service that we can all rely on. I wanted to utilise the skills of our retired elders because that's where a lot of the knowledge and the wisdom is that maybe, perhaps, isn't being passed down as much as it could be. I believe in the sociology of it all, and watching what's happening and seeing who's doing what and why. Where did that come from? And so I wanted to find a way that we could bring back the traditions and the rites of passage so that we can share them with our brothers and sisters, so that when the transition occurs, we're all on the same page. In truth, then, the work starts well before the diagnosis. My intention too was to create a funeral fund. Much like a partner, members would pay subs into a funeral fund so that their funerals can be covered without the stress of funeral planning. That also, for me, was seen as a necessity, because more and more of our brothers and sisters within our communities are dying at younger ages and suddenly. It can be quite a shock to the system if we are hit with the fee of a funeral that we were not planning for. So I strongly believe that we are not dying in a way that glorifies our life on earth. I believe that we are currently exploited in the marketplace, and that the people who are responsible for our care are not equipped culturally to provide the appropriate services, even though they may have melanin. We're not planning adequately for this time, and I do believe that it is something that has to be planned in advance. And we may also be dying in states of anguish that directly affect our future generations, our descendants, and our future incarnations. So the aim of FACFO is to support African people who wish to make their transition from home, surrounded by family and loved ones. This is something that we can do. Oftentimes, the hospital will leave it so late that they say, oh, the person won't make the journey home. With early planning, we can ensure that our loved ones pass in an environment that is familiar to their senses right through to the last breath. The aim is to create and maintain a standard of care and respect for the African body post-transition. There was quite recently news of how certain nationalities were being handled by certain funeral directors whilst in their care. We need as much as possible to avoid abuse happening to the African body. It is far more sacred than we at this moment realize. Okay, the aim is to provide education for African families around death, around tradition, and around their rights and options at the end of life. There are, as I've mentioned, certain practices that are just forced upon us and expected. We do have rights, and we have the right at all times to say no. We also own our bodies. We have the right at any time to say, bring the body. I can care for the body. Okay, also, the intention is that the traditions and the rites of passage are also maintained, and this is vital to our transitions. So another aim is to have African funeral operatives nationwide for the ease and promotion of our services by our providers. I plan to carry out all of these aims through the website facfo.org. So what FACFO provides, it's an organisation that would have an advisory group and tiers of membership for funeral operatives, service providers and members of the public. The organisation would have annual conferences and educational programmes that centre around dying, death and bereavement. The organisation would offer emotional, social, spiritual, cultural and practical support at the end of life for those making their transitions and for their families. Also, the promotion of business within our communities, as well as the ability to create new jobs. This is a market, this is an area, this is an institution that we are not present in. We have the tools. Now is the time. So the invite is that you join FACFO, the Federation of African and Caribbean Funeral Operatives. If you know somebody that would like to get involved, or if you yourself would like to get involved, I will be giving more information. But, you know, just for now, I'm looking for, at the very least, funeral directors, funeral celebrants, death doulas, funeral arrangers, morticians, nurses, doctors, bereavement counsellors. The list does go on. And I'll show you the website shortly. So we do have the website set up, and it will serve as a directory on which funeral operatives can place details of the services that they provide. The site will feature a list of courses that will be available and dates of upcoming events. The site will also serve as a hub for research and archive collection or collation. And the site will serve as an information hub, rather like a magazine, with articles and interviews that feature up-to-the-date news, advice and changes around policy and procedure. So I will now just show you the website. Just waiting for it to come up. Oh, the screen sharing is paused. Can you still see the screen? Can you see that it's changing?
Yeah, we can still see where it says any questions.
Stop sharing this screen
last...
and share the other screen.
Right, okay, so new share. Okay. Do you see the website now?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So this is FACFO. This is a temporary website, but it's thoroughly ready to go. FACFO is the Federation of African and Caribbean Funeral Operatives. And if you were to look this up on your phones, then the address is www.facfo.org. F for Federation, A for African, C for Caribbean, F for Funeral, and O for Operatives. Okay, so I've been working on this site for a little while, and within here we have the directory. So I would be looking to populate this site with as many caterers from all over the UK who are able to offer catering services for events such as funerals, counsellors, bereavement counsellors and mental health counsellors, again up and down the country, who are able to offer their support. The benefit, I suppose, at the moment is that it doesn't matter where they are located, because, you know, we can be working online at this time. Death doulas up and down the country. It would be fantastic if we had an agency. Florists, all of African or Caribbean, all of African descent. Funeral arrangers, funeral celebrants, funeral directors. There are many opportunities here to start fresh businesses up and down the country. And also lawyers who are able to provide advice when it comes to wills, probate, and you know, situations pertaining to matters that could get quite complicated when a loved one passes away. We have here an events page which will provide details for training such as becoming a pallbearer. There have been instances where those who have been holding the coffin or casket have dropped it because they don't know what they're doing, because they've not been trained adequately. We would also be providing death doula training from a cultural perspective. Also, enterprise skills, as I've mentioned, there is a big scope for new business. And so with the training of small business and the advice, we can create strong businesses together. We need funeral arrangers. They are so vital when it comes to planning a funeral. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we are facing instances where we're not prepared. We're not prepared when a loved one passes away suddenly. Sometimes the stress of it all can be so much. Having the funeral to arrange on top can cause added stress, let's say. If we were to have a bank of funeral arrangers who could minimize that stress, it would be such a help. Funeral celebrants. I myself am a funeral celebrant. That means that I can conduct a funeral for anybody. I'm not a Christian minister. And so if we had, again, an agency of ministers and celebrants, that would be fantastic. Again, we could cater to our communities up and down the UK, as well as with or alongside our funeral directors, who play a very important role. I would like each year for us to have conferences so that we can talk about our advancements within our communities, and so that we can celebrate the people that are doing the work and keep abreast of what's happening. So there is an invitation for people to join VACFO, join us, join me. People can register their businesses if they are serving communities with relation to dying, death or bereavement. Not everybody has a bereavement, but they offer a service. They are absolutely welcome, absolutely vital. And we also have a tier membership. All is to be arranged, but I'd like for there to be a bronze, gold and silver tier alignment for those that are able to contribute towards their future plans, let's say. We have here a tab for policies and legislations. Oftentimes these are changed. The information is out there, but it's not necessarily broadcast all the time. And so we can find that we are lagging behind when it comes to getting hold of this information. If we had one location where this information is, then we can all keep abreast quite easily. Our story. Okay, so when I was growing up, I was taught to believe that when you die, it's final, that's that. But we talk about going home. I was told that, you know, if I had the right heart condition, then I would live forever on a paradise earth. But earth isn't home. So it made me wonder when I was younger, if they say that you're going home when you're transitioning, then where is home? There are many instances that have been recorded in his story of our taking our own lives in order to avoid a future of evil, as was explained by Auntie Jean in her introduction. We have come to fear death, but we used to celebrate it. We didn't fear it. It was something that we controlled. It was something that we held. And I do believe that we have the knowledge. I don't believe it's hidden. I believe that it is within our DNA. And I believe that it will come to the fore. So through edutainment and through research and working together to bring back the traditions and the real, true rites of passage, we can strengthen our people, I do believe. So, an About Us tab would feature anybody who is working together with FACFO with regards to the organisational structure. At present, I am here and I am being guided by Yvonne Witter. So if I just put down, there you go. So I don't know whether I've explained, I don't think I did, but I am a death doula, which means that I provide comfort, support, practical assistance, guidance when a person is making their transition. I can offer respite care and tend to, you know, just practical needs around the house within the community. I can offer advice and support. And I am a funeral celebrant, which means that I can then conduct the funeral. I am a bereavement counsellor and a hypnotherapist as well. I trained as a hypnotherapist because I distinctly realised that our communities were largely under a type of trance that we needed to wake up from. And I wanted to learn through hypnotherapy how I could wake as many people up as possible. I believe that at the moment of transition, and for those who are approaching transition, their families and loved ones, I think hypnotherapy is an interesting tool that can be utilised to bring about maybe that which is hidden in our DNA. Okay, so as I've said, I've been advised by Yvonne Witter, who is a business consultant, and she has said that she believes that this is a significant service to the African Caribbean community in the UK. Okay, conclude with a contact us page there. My details are on the site. My telephone number 07975861089, and the email address is info.facfo@gmail.com. So I'm going to stop sharing and go back to, and then go back to the presentation.
If you could repeat your telephone number again, please.
Certainly. It's 07 975 86 1089.
Type it in the chat, Laura, and your email address.
Okay, I will
Because people
do.
join at different times.
Right, okay, I will do so.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you can do it when you're doing your slides on. So you don't get too confused. You can do it after.
Yeah, okay, all right then. So I believe that we can make this happen, and there is no limit. I would also like for us to be in touch with people, our brothers and sisters globally, so that we can be arranging our own repatriation, and our practices can be exchanged, so that we are all maybe one day working together in unison and learning from each other. There's no reason for us now to be working in segregated spheres. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask?
I just think this is an absolutely brilliant idea. And yes, if you can get as many, as I said, funeral directors on your list and as many people as possible, this could be like a one-stop shop, you know, a one-stop shop that, you know, if anybody has a bereavement, you can say, oh, go to this website, you know, it's got to have a long list of different people in different parts of the country, and that can help. And as I said, I didn't even know about a death doula before Jenny set up this platform. So yes, I'm learning as I go. I just thought there was funeral directors and that was it.
Yes.
But you've opened up a whole range of different things that's actually going about. And you know, and Kesheni sort of like opened up a lot of different things from tradition to now, you know, what we can be doing with our loved ones once they've passed on. So yes, thank you.
You're welcome. It's interesting what you've said, because, you know, I can probably get the information now, actually. The actual doula way, let's say, is quite new. It's quite new. I think it's something spans back from, I think, I'll get the date, but if I'm not mistaken, I think it's around 2012.
Okay.
And when I was doing the training, what struck me was that you're not actually teaching anything that we haven't been doing our whole lives since time began, you know, and certain people have taken this and they've made it a something that you need to be qualified to do in order to pass their standards, and their standards are not in alignment with ours. So for us to have culturally specific doulas, and I'm also really open to finding a better name, another name. The word doula means maid, to be of service, but it has Greek origins. Now we know that the Greek origins, you know, stem from Africa, but I'm sure that there are even stronger words that we could be using at this time.
I'm sure there must be a traditional name. You know, I suppose we can start asking questions for, you know, people who've come over, who's over here now from the motherland. You know, I don't think it should be hard to find a name. I mean, somebody's put grandmother.
Grandmothers.
Yeah.
Laura, it's Debbie speaking.
Hello, Debbie.
Hi, I am also a funeral celebrant, and I'm really pleased today to hear you speak. I just thought your website, your concept is amazing. What you want to achieve. I am so interested in being involved. Kesheni actually messaged me and told me about you. Actually, she called me. So, so thank you, Kesheni. And I just think what you're aiming to do is just so needed. Even in the last couple of weeks, you know, it's hard. It's hard getting it out there and working with families. And I just really think we need to start with the education.
Yes.
I'm struggling. I'm working more and more with Black families. They're finding out about the work that I do. They always love my services, but I'm struggling to get in the first place. So it's just so difficult. And you know, there was one I did last week, and the family said, and I was talking to them about, why are you using the co-op? And then on the day, there was just so much. It was just terrible on the day. They were in tears because the co-op didn't tell them certain things. And the first conversation I had with her was find out from them if they're going to allow you to do this. And they're things that are really important to us as Black people. But I just felt like they had no respect or no understanding in terms of what we need as a people. And I'm getting it time and time again. And also when I'm coming across families, they're saying, stick with what you know, as opposed to going with a Black funeral director. Our families always used, you know, people. So it's difficult. I have the conversation all the time. I have the conversation all the time, and because I've worked with quite a few Black funeral directors across London, I will recommend those who I've worked with. I think it's difficult. So one of my questions was around standardization.
Can I just come in for one second? Can I just come in for 1 second? Yeah. Laura, would you mind unsharing the screen?
Yep, certainly.
We've had a request in the chat, and I think, this is a bit... Sorry to interrupt you, Debbie. Please carry on.
That's fine. So one of my questions was around standardization, just with regards to... I'll actually feel like I should... One of the questions I had was around standardization, because I don't think people do everything to the same standard, and I just wanted to know how would we ensure that could happen. And then the other thing was around, there are a lot of Black funeral arrangers working in white funeral directors, and who also don't always get it. Kind of like the HR department, the HR who work for their organization. So you go to HR with a problem, but HR are working for the business. And I find that sometimes with some of the Black funeral arrangers that are working within a white organization. And so the other thing is, when you talk about a Black funeral arranger, because I feel like I am a funeral arranger in my celebrant role.
Yes.
And I just wonder whether or not you mean the typical funeral arrangers that we see in funeral directors, or do you mean, you know, a lot of these Black funeral arrangers? So.
Okay, all right, can we take the first question first around standardization? Okay. With regards to this, as a people, we are in different positions, aren't we? We are all at different stages in thought. And so for me, my belief would be, well, my intention is to have an advisory group that I work with, that we come together to have discussions, respecting the fact that, you know, everybody is coming from different beliefs and experiences, let's say, but that we come together. And it can be quite a touchy subject, so I think it would be best handled quite gently, you know. And as well, I'm aware that there may be funeral directors who have been working for years, you know, through their families that have, you know, they've managed to stay Black and one united as funeral directors, and they may not want to change their practices, you know. So I think it's just a matter of having as much education on the site, because if we get that information onto the site and people start to ask for certain services, then those people will have to surely make changes. If not, I am also a big believer of us, or the need to train or offer training to new funeral directors as well, and within the training process of everybody, you know, these practices would be taught as standard. Change has to come, and you know, it's not always comfortable. It's not comfortable at all, but it's necessary. So that's does that answer that with regards to standardization, or is it just waffle?
Never just waffle. Yes, no, I think it's going to be difficult, because I think when people go out and do their own practice, I think it will be, sometimes it's difficult. I think if they're representing an association, you know, you know. Okay. I'm happy to talk to you further. I'd love to talk to you further. My background's training and development, so it'll be good to.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think it will. It's probably vital. But yes, with regards to what you just said about own practices, as part of the Federation, I don't think that I would be in a position to necessarily be able to, I don't know, rest my cap and say, for, you know, this person is definitely working to the standard. And so I think that's why I would be encouraging that everybody has their, you know, their own business or their own way that, what's the word that I'm looking for? I'm not endorsing you, but you're on the site and you're registered and you're performing a service. Also, feedback would be greatly appreciated as well by the people that do receive the services, so that we can continue to, you know, keep abreast of what's actually happening out there. Yep. The second question that you had was with regards to, I can't remember.
It's funeral arrangers.
Funeral arrangers, right. Yes, I'm aware that there are quite a few of them that are working in white organisations.
And they stick them in where the black areas are. So they put in the black funeral arrangers to capture the black people. Yeah.
To be honest, I'm not even going to pretend to have an answer. But because it's a big one, you know, that it's kind of loaded. So I think that's something that would be really good if we sat down and had a conversation about, because individuals such as these who are doing the right thing as far as they are concerned, and, you know, having to earn a wage at the end of the day as well, can provide challenges that we may need to navigate. So again, with training of, you know, a new set that are working within African Caribbean funeral directors, we can move forward. Okay, but yes, if we could have a conversation, that would be fantastic. Okay,
be good.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions or anything that they'd like to say?
Hi, Laura. This is Sandy. I don't really have a question, in a sense where I feel like the way you explained everything, it was so on point and so perfectly explained. The way I mean is, if someone who absolutely have no clue about that subject, they really have a better grasp, and you know, you really put you know, a form of you know, thought for them to come home to and really think, hold on a minute, yeah, you know, nobody really think of, the community doesn't think of all of this. It feels almost brand new, and yet it's not brand new. So really what I wanted to say is congratulations and well done on putting together this website and this form of marketplace where people can, like you said, be individual, but collectively work towards the same aim.
That's it.
I think this is absolutely beautiful. it's needed, it's the way forward. So it was just a note of congratulations, really.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, sister. I appreciate you very much.
Yeah, so I mean, the thing is, this conversation is ongoing. We're going to be talking more and more. It's something that is really, I'm from France. Okay. And I have found lately that those talk is been starting to come up a little bit everywhere. In Benin, they're starting to talk about it, you know, the way to die and how, you know, the process on a spiritual level or, you know, practical level. I found that in France, the subject is starting to rise for the community. There is really, either it's ancestral or what, but there's really in form of energy that is really awakening us onto whole, you know, guys, you know, you need to be prepared for how to die. This is serious. And so putting this together is absolutely fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I believe that there is a push from the ancestors for us to be doing this now. Indeed. And to be bringing forth new information. I don't know how it's going to happen, and I can't do it myself. But it would be so nice to be able to work with like-minded brothers and sisters who are all interested in the future with regards to the right transitions in the right way and the strengthening of our communities. If there's one thing that we do well, that everybody knows that we do well, it's death. But are we doing it right? So thank you. Okay. Are there any other?
Matiga, she's unmuted, and then Queenie.
Okay.
Matiga.
This is the Eve with the hand up.
Matiga and Queenie have been a little while.
I've got this. Got this.
Hello,
hi, Laura.
Hiya.
That was really good. That was really, yeah. It's warmed up my insides. Oh. I just wanted to. I think it was similar to the lady's question before in regards to qualifying almost to be on the platform. I know she talked of the standardization, but in regards to, is there like a registration kind of thing? Would they have to answer certain questions in regards to their practice? Is there a fee? What kind of initial things would have to be met before being able to be on the... I think I'm lagging.
Okay, no, I can hear you. Okay, so I am very interested in having a steering group that I work with, or rather groups of steerings, because it's such a massive subject. So I would like, or maybe a steering group, you know, that deals with the practical side, a steering group that deals with the business side, just so that we've got all bases covered. So I'm open to that. I have kept the website as minimal as I possibly can, because I'm open to change and I want to work with people. I don't want it to be a case of it's mine, I'm sitting at the top and, you know, this is how it's going to be. It's never going to work. But without people, I can't do this. With regards to operatives, working with the team, the steering group, the advisory group, we would put together some robust, I'm going to say things. I know that Sister Kesheni would probably have the right word. Structures, some robust structures, requirements in place, so that, you know, so that we can do this properly. I don't have all the answers, but I know that the answers are out there in the minds and the bodies of my brothers and sisters. And so I'm excited about working together. And I'm honoured to, you know, say that this is my first presentation, and I wanted, you know, I've wanted it to be on Auntie Jean's platform, because there is a standard that you know, that I feel is here, and I want for there to be a representation of the traditions that have, you know, that are not as known. And so I want to work with like-minded people to bring this about. And so yeah, if anybody here would like to work with me, join me in this,
I'll be emailing you. I've already got the details down. I'll be in contact literally this week, like before the week's out. I'll be in contact. I'm a doula as well. I'm a birth doula, but I've mentioned on one of the sessions that we had before that I've looked into the deaf doula work before, and there's just been this resistance as to why I haven't taken the step. But it's exactly what you spoke of, because it just it just didn't sit right. Having said that, the place that I was actually looking at doing my training with have now joined up with Abuela Doulas, which is the first Black founded doula organisation in the UK, and they've joined together, so they're actually putting a program out. So my thing's been motivated again. My spirit of inquiry has been rejuvenated, and I've been looking into that just recently again because of the collaboration. But yeah, this is definitely something that, as you said, it's been divinely ordained. The ancestors are definitely putting everybody to work and making sure that it gets done. So when that happens, you're not allowed to ignore it.
You can't. How dare
Because
you?
otherwise they'll just know exactly. They'll whisper it at the beginning, then the next minute you'll be getting the other side of your head. So yeah, you're not allowed to ignore it.
No.
So you have to follow the breadcrumbs. But yeah, I really appreciate what you're doing, and it's beautiful, and the spirit that you're coming to bring it forth is yeah, it's exactly what we need. Thank you.
Thank you. You know what you just said is the breath. That's it. You know, you're born.
I think even with timing, my dad passed. At the altar and gave me the you're done good, girl. So yeah, but it's definitely for those that don't know where to go and are not control freaks like me and trying to organize everything in that time, it can be literally just an overwhelming of too much.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Okay,
it's
absolutely. And you know, as well, you brought up the matter as well of Rasta. You know, who are the drummers? You know, there is so many different elements. There are so many people that we need to know who's who. Where are you? And can you get here, there, and everywhere? You know, just to add to the presentation, we would need drivers. I would like for us to have a fleet of cars so that or you know, of coaches, so that we can move around, you know, and cater to everybody. It's a big work. It's a big work. So thank you for arranging your father's funeral.
I can highly recommend the drummers, Auntie Jean's King, who he come and drummed at my dad's funeral, and everybody, even till now, there's them drummers that you had, and so people still are commenting now on that. So yeah, it's within the community, it's all there. It's just putting it all in one place to find it, and that's exactly what you're doing it. So yeah,
thank you.
Okay.
Is
this YV?
Thank you. I'm loving the sharing. I'm really learning by everybody's conversation. I'll be brief. Firstly, I think it is crucial. This is so crucial because I'm in a women's support network where a lot of people share about funerals, and they and I can relate to this as well. They're in a family that has already had its fractions and tensions, and add the funeral on top, and that for a lot of people is the straw that takes it to another level, that then becomes something generational pain. And you know, every one of us can tell that story, I'm sure. Yeah, exactly. Things that are already on shaky ground, it's taken to another level. So I'm very touched by the presentation and the I was going to use the word ambition, but that's not the word I want to find. But I'm touched by that intent, that deep intent, and the fact that it is it's what you are. Do you know what I mean? It's not something you're doing on the side. It's not this fitting in it. It's the whole of what you are. So that is very much appreciated. I wanted just to make a couple of comments. Another couple of comments. You went through a list of organizations that you'd like that will help to make this become real. I did notice the mention of churches, and I know that you've probably considered that, but I was going to ask a bit about that. And the other thing I was going to say, because I've been making notes, find it. It's jumped out of my head. I'm not sure what it was now, but
okay, all right.
But yeah, oh yes, I've got it. You said that this was the first time you're doing this presentation, and obviously Auntie Jean works alongside Andrew Mohammed, and she works alongside Leon Marshall, and they normally have a really big audience, and I'm sure they will be equally receptive to doing a whole evening on this to help to broaden what you're creating, because I mean, the way you've touched, I don't even need to go into people's minds. There's only how many of us in this group. I think you've touched everyone, and I think with the audience that they have, it will be the same. Okay. It brings up a lot of heartache, but hearing what you're doing, but it brings up a lot of hope as well. Yeah. And I think of my own passing. I know we shouldn't, because that's our culture. Don't talk about it, wait till it happens, right. Bring it on. You mention it happen. These kind of thoughts that are in this culture that we live in. And I think it's really, really healthy, and to bring back the sense of ownership, owning this now, as opposed to all the things, as you said. I mean, because the way that they're handling the deaths in the hospitals now, if we think about it, it will give us nightmares. It gives us another layer of worry. Yeah. So I think what you're doing is so vital for the cycle. And I just went, just say maybe contact Hidden Truth, because they have lots of investors, and they, even last night there was this guy on it. He said that when he was in his 20s, he was earning 1.5 million pounds a year over a 10-year period. And now he's in a group of, and because he learned the skill of making money, he's worth a lot of money, and he's in groups of people that all black people that earn lots of money, and they're all progressive. So I was like, yeah, this is something that Laura can link up with.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. So do link up with those characters, because I don't think anybody would block this. I think everybody is determined now to start to automate our lives, because we know how the game is out there, and we all want to start, taking back control. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I will go back to the churches, but well, figuratively, but just thank you for that suggestion. I'm kind of hidden and I'm not out there so much, let's say, on the scene. So I'm aware of Brother Andrew Mohammed, but I don't have access or the means to communicate with them. So if at all there is any way that introductions can be made, then I can introduce you. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you. With regards to the churches, they are vital. They're the word is not appearance, their presence within this would be vital, because there are so many people who are still who are Christians. They just are, and through, and it's okay. As I said at the beginning, we are all at different levels, and there's no rights or wrong to how we live. What matters is that we live in a way that is honorable. You know, there are many beliefs that I have, like reincarnation, for example. This is a lifetime that somebody's a Christian. They might come back next time and, you know, ether be their way. It's not for anybody to judge, but it is for everybody to be a part of. So this is a non-denomination organization that welcomes everybody, so that education can be spread throughout families, individuals, and, you know, everybody, without prejudice. So I hope that answers your question. And yes, I would be interested in having, you know, faith steering groups, so that conversations can be had, so that we can, you know, bring together an understanding, a general understanding for good practice. So I hope that answers your question, YV.
Yeah, it's good. It's all moving in the right direction. So brilliant. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I don't want to discriminate against anybody. Queenie. Hi,
Queenie. Queenie, did you still have a question to ask?
Can you unmute?
Yeah, you look like you're in a steam room at the moment.
Yeah, it's
we join you.
The camera. Would that were true, my dear. Would that were true. It's my fantastic computer camera. I'm so sorry. I apologize, but there we go. So thank you to all three of you. You know, for well, all 8 of you actually for this. I've got, oh gosh, I'm sorry. I do rattle on a bit, don't I? But there's a few points that I wanted to share.
Okay.
Things that I picked up along the way during the conversation. I do have some concerns about. It has been mentioned before. I do have some concerns about standardization, what that means, and that's going to mean different things to different people. And I don't know. I've heard your explanations of what you perceive in this moment for that to be, because it's an organic process. So that's what I get from you.
Yeah.
And I would suggest that as part of, it's only a suggestion, as part of that organic process, finding other tongue, other tongue for that word. Yeah.
Right. Okay. An alternative word.
Yeah. And this is the, you know, this is the thing, isn't it, about our culture as opposed to other, you know, we just have different words or different meanings or whatever. So, but I wanted to is just a suggestion. I wanted to also say that I'm really glad that you're doing this, because I'm up in the north, as you know. I lived in Manchester for about 5 years.
Okay.
I moved to Manchester. I've been in the north for about 10 years, but I moved to Manchester about 5-6 years ago. And I started a similar thing to what you're doing, called Carry Me Home.
Oh,
which was on the same kind of, it was the same ethos. I found it very, very, it was a very strange experience, because Manchester was very closed. I don't know if you've, because you know you're in the north as well. I don't know if you've, but Manchester, the community in Manchester was very. I found them to be very closed. Nobody wanted to talk about it. It was all a bit kind of, oh, you're, you know, isn't this all a bit uppity, niggerish, and all this kind of stuff, yeah. But what I realized was going on, and I think this happens a lot in the community, irrespective of what the tradition is. What was going on was fear.
Not fear of our culture, because if you go to a church funeral, just the way that we stand by the grave and sing them Sankey tunes, yeah, that's some African stuff, girl. That's Pocomania stuff. That's Kumina stuff, yeah. It's not. It's the Christianity thing is a veneer, yeah. It is a cultural veneer. There's all this other stuff that goes on underneath, and nobody talks about it. And because it's a kind of so it's a kind of a fear of that, but also the churches are affiliated to Masonic lodges. This is something that we need to understand. So the churches and the funeral directors, they're all part of the same institutes.
Yes.
I'm going to use the word institute.
Yes.
And so you will find that a church is more likely to go to a funeral director that's in the same which is equally a reason why it's good that you're doing what you're doing, because I'm not saying we should form a lodge, that's not what I'm saying, but we do need to be able to have our hand, hold each other's hands. Yeah, hold each other's hands on the basis of our cultural backdrops, because obviously there are so many different tribes and cultures that are within, you know, even just in Jamaica, there's just so much going on one tiny little island. So in terms of what you were saying about involving the churches, I would say yes, that's a great idea. Just to be mindful that, you know, the high street businesses, the main frontline businesses, we need to be very real about this. That is what is going on. I approached funeral directors, Black funeral directors up and down the country. There weren't that many back then, to be fair. And they were all very closed because there was this thing about trust.
Yes.
They would rather, as I said before, deal with the church around the corner or whosoever than deal with, I think I relayed a story in the first meeting that I came to, this is before I met you, about an elder who refused to use the Black funeral directors up the road from the two others that were not Black owned. And when the Black funeral director approached, this woman was apparently in her 90s, late 80s, early 90s. When she was approached by the funeral director, I gave you a quote, why did you go up the road, like 100 yards up the road? What was that about? And this elder said, Black people don't know nothing about that. Yeah. And for me, all of it, that comment there just summed up in a nutshell all of the reasons why it's great that you're doing this now. It sums it up, all the reasons. I did meet, I don't know if you've met the funeral directors in Leeds. Do you know there's a Black funeral director?
The Brodericks,
The Brodericks, right. So, and there's a mortician.
Yes.
Tasha.
Barrett,
Tasha Dan, sorry?
I know that they have a mortician working with them who has come up from London.
Ah, right. Oh,
that's
okay.
who you're, okay.
Okay, there was one based in Leeds called Tashai.
Okay.
A young lady.
Ah.
And she said some very interesting things in her, because she didn't train, she wanted to work with them, but the timings were wrong. When she started her training, the timings were wrong. They couldn't facilitate her. And so she ended up training with another organization. And she said some terrifying things about how they treat our bodies.
Yes.
You know, the chemical processing.
Yes.
You know, she said that they used much higher concentrations of embalming fluids and stuff, because that's what we needed. That's what you did to melanated people. And that's just one tiny little thing. I could tell you a bunch of stories, and I'm sure she could tell you a million stories. But those are really horrific stories about, I mean, we've heard the pile them high, sell them cheap, you know, dress them up for the chapel of rest visit, and then stick them out the back in a giant shed and pile them up on top of each other.
Right.
We know those things go on, but
Okay.
and we have to push them to the back of our minds, because when we go into a place of rest to see our beloved, that's not a thing.
No. And all being well, it's practices like that that we will now start to address and eradicate. And I think that with training, with education, I think that's the best way forward. And that if we're addressing the people, then I believe that it's them who will make the changes through their demands. But when we meet up, we'll definitely speak about this in deeper inspection. We'll give it some real but yeah, practices the respect, the way the body is the African body. This isn't
you know, anybody's body. They do it with everybody, you know, but ours are treated with even more disdain, and you know,
there's a lot more going on here than we're aware of, and
a lot more.
Yeah, the abuse has to stop. It will yeah.
And it's interesting, you know, the funeral director in Manchester, that all the community, like everybody in the community, goes to this funeral director right next door to the African Caribbean social club. It's called Leeches. It's actually called Leeches, yeah. And that's where they go. They go and they get their funeral car. The whole thing comes from up the road. They're literally, you know, a stone's throw. And that's not going to, as long as Leeches is there, that's not going to change.
The irony of the name.
Yeah, and nobody in Manchester seems to really get it. It's just, well, let's go to Leeches. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. It's the same as what you say as well, is rather similar in the area that we're in up here. It does appear to be quite close-minded. And so because I'm originally from London, I think I will always sort of gravitate back to London to get the message out. And my hope is that in time, everybody will have access to funeral directors, funeral celebrants, counsellors, you know, supporters who are moving in the same direction at least. And it will take time.
Yeah.
And there, as you've pointed out as well, there are a lot of beliefs held within us that are against us. The time is now. The time is now to educate our brothers and sisters from a place of love. And, you know, it's quite easy with the knowledge that we have in this room collectively to assume that it's going to be an easy thing to do. It's not. It's going to take time. It's real work. This is. It's real work.
Because it's deep.
Yeah.
It's deep primal stuff, and people are only prepared to be as primal as they're prepared to be.
Yeah. And so it's about really stripping it back and being very basic with our conversation and gently moving in. No heavy, you know, no heavy, no feeling that this is how you've got to do it. No doctrination. That's why I do have a tab for edutainment, so that we can maybe find ways to entertain. You know, like how the Real McCoy, when the Real McCoy was on, there was a lot of information that was given through humour. There are ways that we can get the messages across.
Yeah, I'm remembering the Irish moss dance.
Yeah, in it, as a matter of fact, it's good for your front and it's good for your back.
Yeah, yeah. And the whole thing in between. Yeah, yeah.
Right. So we do learn, and you know, we know how we learn, through entertainment, through dance, through storytelling, through singing. Let's bring it all back. We've got it. We've got this. Let's bring it back. Let's put it on the table. and let's roll with it, you know. And to an extent,
And there's one
they've
more
got it to, sorry.
Sorry, there was one more point of what that you mentioned about a funding branch.
Again, that's gonna, yeah.
Well, it could be a lot more straightforward than you think.
Really?
Yeah. I had a sister friend who was from Malawi. She's not here anymore, I don't think, but she was an elder, and I spoke to her. I mean, I don't think she's in this country. I spoke to her at the beginning of all of this Carry Me Home thing, and I spoke to her about the funding and insurance, and she said, oh, in South Africa, we just have a burial, we have a thing called Burial Society. I don't know if there's anybody in the room here that knows about this, but they have burial societies, which is basically everybody in the community that wants to have a funeral pays something. You know, you were talking about tiers.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and this is just something that they've always done.
Yes.
Because yeah, you have a little pot, you pay your little in every week. They have meeting every whatever. I don't know if it's every week or every month or whatever. And you're expected to show your face once every to show your commitment. Yeah. You put the money in the pot. When somebody dies, the money comes out of the pot relative to what they put into the pot, and everybody mucks in. The cooks come and they do this. The cleaners come and they do that. The nurses come and they The families come and the mothers and the sisters come and they wash down mummy. The uncles and the brothers and grandfathers come and then wash down the daddy. Yeah. And everybody just does, and everybody gets a great send off, you know, relative, and sometimes more relative to what they've been able to put in the pot, because they've committed to this thing for the last 10 years, 15 years, even if it's only 10p a month that them put in. They're the ones that are there every whatever, saying, oh, really, Mrs. Such and such and such. Well, I don't have any money, but you know something, we can do this, we can do that. Yeah. It's a community oriented thing, but they call it Burial Society. Okay. So, and that was one of the things that I looked at as well. But I think you'd have to have one person that was specifically, or a team of 2 or 3 specifically designated to that particular thing. That's and have it, you know, but just the idea, you know, I think the words, even Burial Society, is just so soft and fluffy and lovely.
Yeah.
You know, it's very clear.
Yes.
What it's about.
Yeah.
But the word society, it's just
so, isn't it? It's unifying, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think I was just calling it subs. But yeah, if we have a society, that's something. It's about having as many different factions that cover the whole thing under the one roof, working together. Imagine the conferences, they're going to be amazing.
I mean, if you could, it would be great if there was a way to link up with, I know that there's a society of traditional healers in South Africa as well. There's a website of theirs somewhere online. It would be great to be able to try and forge some links with people like that globally, gradually, because it's a lot of things, isn't it? Just to get input and exchange.
I'm kind of on that same thought as you. I've set up an organization it's a Facebook group called Global Sisters Network. And my intention there is to bring sisters from all over the world to share information on the ground. This is what's happening here. This is what's happening where I am, you know? My intention to set that up was so that when we do transition, if we want to go home, then we've got somebody there on the ground, and we can sort out the repatriation ourselves. I may not be I may not be right, but when I looked into repatriation recently, I struggled to find an African Caribbean company that were doing it. They may be out there, but I was not able to find them. And I woke up one morning and it just came to me, Global Sisters Network. So I've set that up with a beautiful sister who is currently in Ghana. We have sisters in Nigeria, in the Caribbean. I'm trying to think now. We've got some sisters from America as well, and Kenya. Gosh, I can't remember, but it's growing. So that was
exciting.
Yeah, thank you. There are times when I just get, right, this is what's needed, that's what's needed, and I'll set it up and I'll just keep it moving. And my intention is that it's there when it's needed. So at the moment, again, like FACFO, we are at the early stages, but we are growing and it's happening. So I look forward to working with you and learning more about, the information that you have, because you've got vital knowledge that we can all benefit from as well, having started the process yourself. So thank you for the work that you've already done.
I'm looking at all your lovely faces. You're all so lovely and jubbly, aren't you? Look at you, little Miss Matiga. You look up, you're such a little baby. That's great. It's great that the youngsters are coming and wanting to do big people things then, yeah?
I'm smiling because you are up north. I'm in Scarborough at the moment.
Oh, are you?
Connected.
Okay. You're down road. You're just
down
road.
Can't get no planting up here, but
okay.
We all talk out corner of the gobble out now. Okay, thank you. I'm going to mute myself now. Thanks for answering my questions.
Yeah, thank you though. Yep. And yes, I've just seen in the chat. Yeah, I've been working with Yvonne hand in hand. I first told her about it in 2015 when my aunt died, and my cousins, my uncle, they didn't know anybody, and at that time I wasn't from their part of London. So it was Yvonne that I was calling up and saying, do you know anyone who does this? Do you know anyone who does that? And so, yeah, I just want to acknowledge Yvonne for your help and guidance along the way.
No, I was just replying, me and Matiga are having a conversation back and forth.
Oh, okay.
So I was just replying to Matiga. So I was just saying to her, look, don't worry about me nodding off because...
Oh, yeah, you got this. You got this, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sister Kesheni, is there anything that you'd like to say? I see you're unmuted.
Yes, I've been unmuted all the time.
Oh, okay.
Well, what I would like to say is that there are, we've heard from most people, and there's some people we haven't heard from. In fact, there's only 2 other people. So as we're a small group, it'd be just nice to get some feedback as well, or any points from Pedro and Trisha, if you wouldn't mind. If you're there, are you there? We can see you. Are you there, either of you, to unmute?
No, to unmute and say something, even if it's, oh, Pedro is unmuted.
Hi, everyone. Greetings.
Hi.
Good evening. Well done, first of all. I think it's a great idea. I think you've answered all the questions I have or had. It's more of, because it's a new subject for me, sort of thing. So I'm more of like trying to understand and just absorb everything that's going on, because there's a lot of information. I mean, it's not something that I've ever thought of or people that I know think about. But yeah, thanks very much. I don't have anything to put in because, as I said, I'm still, absorbing everything and trying to just make sense of it all. But yeah, thanks very much.
Okay, thank you, brother. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we've got a bit of feedback from Trisha. She said that she's here, but she can't talk. She can't chat, but basically she said it's absolutely wonderful and she's absorbing it all.
Thanks,
So
Trisha.
brilliant.
Hey.
Oh,
Okay.
so we really give thanks there for the feedback there, Pedro. Thank you. In a sense, you are, in a sense, you've stood for the community that hasn't considered and doesn't know. And it's really great that you are in a position to absorb what this is, what we're at the very conception early on in the gestation process, to understand its journey and how you receive it, I think is of value to us in terms of your feedback as a starting from zero, if you like. So really appreciate your presence, and I would like to keep inviting you to these more specific sessions to you know, have you give us feedback about how you receive it, and so on. And perhaps once you've taken some in, there may be something you'd like to kind of send a note to either myself or Laura or Jean, and you know, just any notes, but it's not a must. It's just something I'm just noting. And I would say that to yourself as well, Trisha. I don't know how much this is new to you as an understanding. That would be also great. And I would say that to everybody. If any other points come up, it's now time to coalesce that information, bring it into matter, into a whole, and see how that feeds in. And so there are some very important points in regards to functioning, structure, and outreach that we need to now start to take. We're putting it into the whole, and perhaps they're like, you know, little buns that we are kind of kneading and we want to put into the oven, and have as a something that we can offer to our community. So that now means we now need to start to see, well, what is our area of emphasis? Is it research? Is it training? Is it in regards to actual practice? And then there are angles that come from that, the professional, what is there now? How do we reach current funeral directors and have them come on board and see this as a platform that is of value to them? And what their views are and what they would like to see. There are some other things that I think are to do with the general public that, again, that might be an area that we're all in, or there may be a group that the subgroups and so on, that the steering group sides that Laura was talking about, that is to actually do with the basic fundamentals of now addressing issues like the body in a hospital. And what happens with that? What are the legal aspects? What kind of certificate, documentation, something that is presented in the hospital that teaches the hospital and helps the family to say this is what they want to happen next at the moment that the body has passed. And that is one of the critical areas, because we've heard the issues in regards to the physical body itself. And what came up for me was things like, yeah, we were not considered fully human. Now, whether people like it or not, somewhere in the psyche of these no color people, it's somewhere in there.
Yeah.
If everything is filed in our experience, yes, in the gross unconscious, it's there. So when it comes to that moment, we don't know their history in practicing with bodies. If they've in a lineage that's 100 or 200 years old, that perspective of us 200 years old, 300 years ago, So these are things now that we have to have respect for our own DNA, not just saying our color as African people, as people of African heritage, we have this melanated expression through our skin. You know, that's beyond, we're beyond that identity. It's ourselves as presence, human body, human, the ones that actually are human because we have the hue. So who are the ones that are no color because they're not human? Oh, is that what we're going to say now? Is it literally a flip and say, well, actually, in reality, you're not human. You don't have a hue.
Mankind.
yeah, you're busy being mankind, you're busy being this thing. And you've broken words down, and we know how they play with the language in terms of womb man, but you remove the B or the W and it becomes man something. Anyway, so the body issue is something that I think is one of, I would say, a priority in terms of going into what kind of formulation of a document do we need to have? Who needs to sign that off? Is it the medical establishment? Is it the Africa Union? Is it, what kind of, does it require a stamp by Department of Health? I don't know, but we need to take a leadership with a know-how, somebody in that area who would deal with that at that kind of level, so that we've got some kind of official paper that we can distribute to families and that is available to families of our community. I personally don't know
like,
that.
It sounds, Kesheni,
yes.
It sounds like a medical lawyer.
Right, okay. Do we have access to one? Do you have a relationship with one at all? Or anything like that? So
I don't at present.
So I'm going to research. I will take on researching a medical lawyer in the community and see what comes from that.
Laura, Wiggy used to be. I think Wiggy still is. There's a woman we know.
Mm.
But
please, others do the same thing. I mean, yes. I'm happy to take on doing that, but literally, I'm going to go on Google.
Yes, please, Kesheni. Yeah, please.
Yeah, but if you have it, then please send me the information and I can follow through with that. So it also means that from what you've got, Laura, the document that you've presented, then that becomes something of a document that we now have among us. And that brings up the next session that we would have on this would be the end of this month. Can you just remind the date, Laura?
Yes, the Sunday, the 28th of February at 2 p.m. My intention is to invite people from, I think, another 4 organisations. If I could invite Brother Andrew Mohammed and Brother Leon Marshall, then that would be fantastic. The door's open as well, but yeah. So that's the intention for that on the 28th of February is, again, just to let people know this is it, this is what's happening, this is the website, and if you have any skills and time that you can offer at the moment, because we are just at inception, I can't pay, everything is voluntary, but in time, we'll see. In time. I don't even think it's a case of we'll see. I think in time.
It will fall into place in the right way. Our ancestors are on it. So between now and then, for people who are here, from the sort of directory headings and others that you may find applicable, because this, it's about what does it mean to become a member? What does it mean to join?
Yeah,
that's something that is now for you who are here now to, and even one of the things that came up, I'll talk about it if we're about to finish, is when I worked with in kind of steering groups and committees and some of these things, it's really good to have a group that is the general public.
Okay.
Yes, and they, can also have a kind of a contribution of sorts in some kind of way.
Yeah.
So, and with the presence of Pedro, and I'm not handing this over to you, Pedro, as such, but you're the kind of the person that is representing that for us at the moment, is to perhaps look at that. Now, the reason, why was I saying that? Oh yes, the kind of subheadings. So what I was trying to say, so that Pedro, to include yourself on some kind of heading in that kind of, perhaps in our group rather than the directory. Maybe that's not the quite place. What I'm just trying to say that we now place ourselves in some kind of affiliation or content and put ourselves as either membership and things like that. So that I think is something that you, Laura, would kind of look at. Is there a membership form? And we're, you know, in what way can we accept, we're not accepting each and everybody necessarily, but they need to at least be either providing a service, or they would sit in a kind of general public interest kind of group as we go forward now. And there's some things that they'll be party to, and others that they wouldn't, for example.
Yes.
And this may be also towards, I love the burial society thing. I think, she said, it's great. And one of the things you mentioned was about their role in repatriation. And the community orientated factor of it. We've got people going to crowdfunding to get funding for the funeral services. So if we had a society within which you are contributing on a regular basis yourself, but it's not as much as someone else because they want something else, then there's something that by your contribution you participate in other people's passing in some kind of way, in preparing the space, or with the services of foods, or in the background doing a mailing, whatever. There may be something that one can contribute towards, and therefore you're also secured in regards to your passing as well. So I really like that, because I think that is very community active, and it really relates to that village. So let us be that village. That whenever, you know, we saw in one of the previous sessions how when somebody passed, everybody from the area came. They were there, not just the people in the compound or the extended family or just a smaller, but it was a pulling point, and it was immediate. Obviously things have changed, and it's not, we don't live in that environment here, but that scope of people's facilitation is also there. There are some really good points about assets. So there are things to discuss in regards to business. If we were to have a fleet of cars, there again, we're talking about money. There's an income. The membership is an income. And those things are thing. And I'm sure there'll be, and I suppose it's really now, Debbie, I'm going to kind of come to you because you have a direct relationship with funeral directors. We would, that 28th is really where we would like to have as many of them present as well, and for them to be invited, for them to hear how we are talking about it in the community and what they would like to bring to the table. And it's really about bringing everybody on board that's got anything to do to say with this, to again, come on the 28th. The 28th is not general public. It really is practitioners, people interested to work, offer services or products that would be applicable to this industry. So it can be aromatherapists, it can be body workers, if they would like to move towards things like washing the body and anointing the body. And it can be ones who have got products like anointing oils, and to understand how we work that as well. It can also be people who are do divinations and may be able to offer that service as well. So again, the ranges of service. And again, we've mentioned it before, what are sort of the basic things that we want our community to know and understand? And is it just simply by them acknowledging with an amulet, that's all they need, everything else stays the same if they're Christian or Muslim, or they have a process that they don't want to come out of, but by simply having an amulet that's specifically created and consecrated for that person as part of their journey to secure their journey. So the whole aspect of what happens at death and burial and process is how do we bring that to the community. And so that's about education. So again, another steering group around that. So that again is obviously something that we would want to ask on the 28th and have people sign up for.
Yeah.
I don't want to kind of carry on too much because we've covered a lot, and all I'm, you know, and all I would be is making notes about things that are things that the collaboration issue has got a lot. What I would like to, I do have a question about the soil on the coffin issue. It's really this thing that doesn't make sense. And I have, I mean, Laura, do you know what this is about?
What, the fact that we're no longer allowed to throw soil?
Yes.
I don't know where it's coming from.
Right. Debbie, do you know anything about that?
I think I was at a funeral recently, a relative actually, and but I had no say in the arrangements. But I just found the funeral director, it was like, you know, we're not having any of that, you know, and the way they talked to my cousins, it was just so rude. And then my uncle, who's about in his 80s or whatever, has been using this company for years for all different types of all different relatives, his wife. And it was just, you know, we're not having that, and they're not going to let you, you know, get out of the way. We're not going to stay here all day. You know, it's just the tone and the things and the way they rush the thing with the program. You know, let's get it over and done with kind of attitude. You know, and so the people there mourning would kind of, you know, went to one side while they got their digger truck in. You know, which is not how it's done. You know.
Okay, so this soil thing, really,
I think it's nothing to do with time. It seems like we've got the reputation. One funeral operative was saying to me that the tradition, the white funeral operators see us as taking too much time. That's what's communicated to me.
They quickly want to get that body in there. The other thing, preparation of the body, preparation of the soil.
Yeah.
Into which the body's being turned into. So it's that as well as something that we need to pay attention to. Yes.
Just a note. Yes, they are noting that it's a safety issue with regards to us actually putting the soil back in.
What's unsafe about that?
But we've been doing it for years.
Do you know what? I don't know. I don't know whether it's people are falling in. I know that.
Falling in. Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Well,
I do know.
No, but if you have a digger truck, the digger truck will do it in what, you know. But if men are doing it, it's going to take longer, isn't it?
It's going to take time.
Yeah,
and we stay till it's done, don't we? But at my father,
Debbie. Sorry, go on, Debbie. Debbie, can't hear you.
Okay. I was saying, isn't it only since COVID that they stopped?
Can't hear you. Say again. Start again.
I said, isn't it only COVID?
During COVID.
Since COVID, yeah.
So it's really a COVID thing.
So I don't know how we can supposed to catch anything by throwing soil into the grave.
Okay, so throwing soil in the grave has still been allowed at any services that I've actually led. Okay. It's not the throwing soil in the grave, it's the actual backfill. So it's the actual putting the soil with the shovels into the grave. That's not what's allowed, but the actual ashes is allowed. That has been allowed.
That's
at the
right.
So the throw, the actual passing that round, that has been allowed. It's actually the backfill where people use the shovels themselves and put it into the grave. That has
I think it depends where you are in the country and what people's experiences are, because different people have had different experiences.
Okay.
What they are saying is that they have to move away. The families have to move away while the diggers actually shovel the dirt into the grave. It's not even allowed to wash it. That's what I don't understand. Yeah, they're telling them they have to move away. I mean, move away out of sight.
To me, this points to a conversation I had with Sister Kesheni a couple months back about the need to have to secure our grounds, yeah, and to secure and build our own natural burial ground or grounds somewhere up and down the country, a north, a middle, a south. Then these things are not. You know, even if it's securing a piece of land within another natural burial ground, you know, because if you go to the local, you know, municipal cemeteries, the Muslims have a section.
Yes,
they have their own section.
The Jews have theirs.
The Jews have theirs. Everybody has theirs. So it's not, you know, it's not unreasonable an idea, and it's not that unfeasible financially, etc., etc. We're very creative people. That's what melanin gives us, and that's what pees people off. Yeah, you just need to use the creativity. It's just, you know, it's another hustle. Yeah.
If I just jump in on the back of that, I have a personal experience of my father's funeral. A person did roll he rolled literally a massive amount of soil in, and you know, everyone was saying, don't do it, don't do it. He did it and smashed my dad's coffin. So, you know, standardization of practice. But yeah, if we had our own land, then, you know, we'll do it our own way. And
so this, sorry, so the person who did it was as a non-African person. It was
no, it was a well-known person in the community.
Oh, I see. Okay.
When I say, like, he was a famous person in the community.
Okay.
And he took it upon himself. Everybody had the shovels, and he thought that he could just get this big chunk.
Is it clay soil?
It was clay, yeah.
Right.
So what happened? You just had to bury him same way, or did it stop?
Yeah, a member, like one of my uncles, one of my dad's cousins came up to me and said, you're going to have to get the funeral stopped. But they wouldn't listen. They said, no, apparently, once the coffin has been lowered, you're now talking about, what's it?
Bringing up fees. It's more fees, yeah.
Exhumation. Exhumation, that's it.
Right.
We're now talking about exhumation, taking it back to the funeral directors, getting a new coffin, paying for that, taking it back now. And every time they take the soil in and out, they're going to charge you.
Wow.
So they're good to put the soil back in for safety. And then when the coffin is now ready to go back in, they will charge you again to take that soil out. So yeah, he's down there, but you know. Yeah.
So yes, I hear what you say then in terms of things like the standardization. I think what Matiga brought up about the African heritage and the non-African heritage organization coming together, that's the other thing that we just have to look out for, because the moment they see the competition, they're going to want some of that, of what, so where do our trainees go to? And Debbie brought up about the collaborations of people in non-African providers, taking the learning and taking it there. And so on. So there is those kind of bits and pieces, but we learn as we go, and we'll see how that works and whether that needs to be something that happens. So I think really that's it for me. I mean, I'm happy for after the 28th, we'll need to kind of have a sense about what we were looking at in March was something for the general public. And this was going to be about practices, things like the embalming and the upselling that comes with it. And interestingly enough, there is a video of an actual funeral director guy, a black guy, who actually says, you people are just spending money. You really, really are. That's all. He said, I really, really have no sense of who I'm dealing with, who the family are. I don't tune into any of that. I just want you to give me the money and I will do this bit. That's it. It's my business. And it's about 2-minute little piece, which I'll see if I can find. And he absolutely has no way in relation to that. So this upselling thing. So that 28th, while it's an introduction to this facility becoming available, and I'm hoping that by then, because I have a bit of a database of practitioners and so on, and we will put that into a mailing and let them come on the 28th. And what we want is to have people now into a directory of sorts, you know, a list, so that, Laura, you would need to understand that you may have to be ready for people making a phone call and say, I'm looking for so and so and so on. So yourself and Debbie and perhaps Queenie, and even yourself, Matiga, in terms of practitioners who understand the form to an extent. Now looking at, you know, the pulling together of those very specific practitioners that people are going to be making calls about. Oh, I hear you do this, somebody's died, I've got to repatriate somebody, something. But I've gone off on a thing. Well, what was I actually addressing was what the general public. So I feel like what I would like from all of you is perhaps a sentence that you could email to me that would be what do we want to say to the general public? What are the guidelines about? Actually, it's not, well, it may not be everybody. It's really Debbie and Laura who are actual celebrants and in the place of that, and perhaps Queenie, like what is it? And in a sense, Matiga, I keep bringing you in because the birth aspect is integral. And I know that Matiga, your experience of being a birth doula with mothers of African heritage and the stresses and the issues that they have, we've had somehow we had a significant rise in deaths during childbirth that's happened. And so they kind of, there's something there. So I'm just marking that. But so I don't know whether Laura, you know, is it possible for you people to come together? We can do that, and get because we would want to put that onto the website as a download. Yes, so it's a public download from that. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I've spoken to a sister in Birmingham who is also a birth doula. And I
Birmingham doula.
Yeah, the Birmingham doula. Yeah,
Amanda.
Yes, we've spoken. Right. Okay. I will say that I do believe that, as I've said, birth and death, it's one and the same. And I would really like for there to be communication. I would like for all the doulas to be included on the site. But we've said that, well, you know, I'm up for changing the name to a more generic one. It brings a whole new aspect, doesn't it? But with a steering group, then that's fine. I'm going to keep it strictly death for me. But I know that birth and death and the amount of our mothers that have been passing away, we need to address it within the organisation as well. So yeah, I'm just saying I welcome it. But
because I'm sure there'll be something in terms of looking at our traditions about mothers who die in childbirth. So that would be a research factor that we need to fill, and there's a lot of that research. So almost everybody is in that space of looking into stuff. So, and I love the international factor that we have here and so on. So this is a kind of sense of schedule timetable that we've got going to the end, up to the end of March. We've got a meeting of practitioners, and then we've got a generic community. So I'm hoping that we as a platform are able to contribute something, or at least be present at those sessions, and contribute towards them happening. And if there are other, sorry, carry on, Laura.
Sorry to interrupt. I'd like it if we could have some speakers on the 28th.
That's this group. Absolutely. So that would be something that, in a sense, again, I will bring it back to yourself and Debbie in relation to the funeral processes. You're the ones that know exactly what to go on, and that I think is what it is. And then I'm sure people will be able to share experiences, and they may have questions about what they've experienced. So I appreciate that you're open to that as well. If there's someone else that you feel also is in that space, an actual funeral directorship that may be willing to also talk about what their basic is and how they bring out, and perhaps they may have a hesitancy about presenting certain things. What, because you know, this is about the service, black or white. So we've got our own people that will do upselling. You know, so where else is their income going to come from if they don't upsell?
That's it.
You know, so we have to take care of understanding that part of the business.
Yeah.
I actually work with one funeral, and there were funeral directors, one of the ones I worked with, they actually cut their costs during COVID to support the Black community. So
can hardly hear you,
You're
Debbie.
you're very low. You're very low.
My thing's 100%. I was saying that one of the funeral directors that I worked with actually cut their costs to support the Black community during COVID. So I don't know if that's a good funeral directors, if we can get them to talk about how they supported the community in this time, as opposed to trying to make money. They were actually cutting their prices because people couldn't afford to bury their dead.
I think that that's a really good point, and it would be good to hear that, because again, that's something that we're not hearing in our community as community people supporting the community. We, you know, unless it's happened to you, you don't really know that that is happening. And I think that that in and of itself is something that is within our arena, but really important to know in our community. So yeah, if that person is able to join us, that would be really good.
Is that a Black funeral director?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right, okay.
Good day.
What time's the meeting on the 28th?
It's at 2 p.m. on the 28th. Okay. And I was just wondering if maybe we could move the March meeting to April.
Okay.
That would give us the whole of March to play with.
Okay.
And also April is like spring, isn't it? The birth of a new.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So if we could make it a big, I suppose that would be a hard launch, Yvonne, is it? Classed as?
April, babe?
Yeah, would that be?
Yeah, that would be your main launch. Yeah, the first one is a soft launch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So therefore the 28th this month is a soft launch.
Yes.
And then April is an actual launch. So we need to give it that level as well in doing that.
Yeah.
In just in a.
You might want to I don't know, but something I'm throwing out there, Laura. I don't know if we talked about this before, but you might want to consider that being a conference to discuss the issue.
Like a whole day thing.
Not necessarily. Oh yeah, so that's what you said last time, whole day. I remember now. And I said no. Yeah, maybe like half a day, like a half a day conference with a break. I remember, yeah, you did. Last time you said a whole day thing. Ooh, no. I'm saying no again. A whole day thing with a break, but a conference, you know. And you know the organization we found in the States that are research, the funeral, maybe invite one, you know, them, maybe, I don't know, but you can look at. So it's a bigger, a wider event. It's a conference to discuss this, however it's branded. We decide to brand it.
Okay. And
then obviously you talk about the Federation of African Caribbean and have like speakers talking about different aspects. You know, Kesheni and other people talking about different aspects of death and burial. That could be a very interesting event. But a conference would, like I said, like Kesheni said, give it weight. You know, it's a weighty event that really grounds this whole process and practice and procedure. Everybody knows it's big, it's out there, and these are the people involved.
I recently spoke at a diversity conference, and the way that
start again, Debbie.
I feel like you're just looking up my nose.
No, we can see your face.
No, so we're coming close because we can't hear.
We can't hear you. I'm frozen now. Type it in the chat.
Can you hear me?
Carry on.
It might be better if you turn your camera off, maybe. We might be able to
try that. Can't hear anything now.
Yeah.
Wow. You can't
technology for you.
You can't.
No, it's chopping in and out.
Keep speaking, keep talking, Debbie.
I saw diversity events recently, and they got 8 hours.
Debbie's saying that she went to something recently. It was 8 hours, you said, Debbie?
the one.
Type in the chat.
So chopped it out.
I think she's saying
she went to a diversity meeting and it lasted.
And it was 8 hours. Okay, then 8
Right.
hours. I stand.
Yeah.
Look, hey, I'm happy to bow to 8 hours if it can be done.
No, I can't. We can't do that to Auntie Jean. First of all, you have to bear in mind, people. I don't think so.
Hey,
If it's a Sunday, if it's before, it's like 2 o'clock because I have my African culture market on at 7 o'clock.
All right, there you go.
So I mean, start up earlier.
I could start a bit earlier, maybe. I
think maybe we could start like at 12.
Yeah.
You know, it may exclude some people internationally, but we could start at 12. So that gives us another couple hours. And with reasonings in between and perhaps a little bit of a break and so on. And I think it's good. It gives us time to actually have players on board to say, we've got this, here's somebody in the east, here's somebody in the west, here's something north, south that we've covered. You know, we've got the country covered in some kind of way in terms of representation, either through arrangement people or doulas, or ones who are prepared to travel. And I've seen in some of those websites that they have members who are, some of them are ministers, some are not. And again, that 28th meeting, there should be more people that will want themselves to be listed.
Yes.
So in fact, we're telling the community, here is the directory, here is the list, here is who you go to for your needs in regards to funeral services. And as much as we have there and what we're able to offer, the better. And continuing as we go forward, we can then go into education type of forum that people can utilize to come on board. But what we are launching is the facility as a go-to if things are going on for your thing. And so we'll have people who deal with bereavement. We could invite somebody like Yvonne Field, who did Ubele, and she did some things during bereavement week. The other thing in May, there is sorry, go on, Yvonne.
With Ubele, it's the BAME stream. Yancy runs BAME stream. I've introduced Laura to Yancy. So Laura's in touch, and I think I'm speaking to Yancy tomorrow actually. We've got a meeting at 11. And so I spoke to her today, but I forgot, with so many things going on at work. I work for Ubele as well.
Okay.
And so many things coming up. So we had a strategy meeting today, but I think the Madonzi Fund is also part of BAME stream. So I think they will definitely be involved because Yancy is very, very excited about the whole thing.
And so
I can't remember to talk to her tomorrow about it actually.
I'll make a note because these are now people that to come on the 28th.
Yeah.
They sent an invitation to
send invitations to them.
Yeah, Laura's invited. Yeah.
But what I've lost my train of thought. What
you said, if you were talking about Yvonne Field and Ubele getting involved.
And Ubele, and that came out of
invites for the 28th.
Speakers, you were talking about
speakers and invites. Oh no, May 10th to the 16th is Dying Matters Week.
Oh yes, yeah.
So I think after April, and Debbie, you have death cafes as well.
Perfect.
So again, the Public Education Forum, perhaps Debbie, that might be something you might be interested to use, and you may do a second one. You have your own one that you do and have your themes, and perhaps there's one that you may be able to hold that is about education. So we're using that banner, if you like. What do you think, Debbie? You can put it in the chat because of the voice thing, but that is something to think about in terms of doing. So these are quite good marker points for us to be participating in some way. I'm hoping to do some, Marvina isn't here, but we've talked about doing some sessions in Dying Matters. So again, if we create a partnership, let's look at who our partners are, because I think that also helps us with things like presenting things to hospitals. I know it seems like a long tangent, but the more we've got institutionalized pieces, the inverted commas legitimacy, our straw man has to work. We're putting our straw man to work. put it like that, if you like. That is something that I will do a bit more work on in terms of dying matters. And we just think, what kind of thing do we want to present? Or what kind of things, activities, what kind of things do we want to show? We could do a showcase of, you know, traditional things and invite, you know, international. So it's a real, it's an exciting opportunity to just go a little bit deeper for the community to have it in their mind for a week. And it can also be about planning. Planning is also fundamental for people. And again, another outreach would be around financial institution that we would create where people will feel safe about putting their money in, because these are the things. There's partners going on, but we've had bad experience. It's been tainted, it's been stained. We now have to kind of wheel and come again and have the trust factor when we're taking people's money, and if it's part of their planning and how we can help them plan. So if there's a group that is about actual planning, the doulas, maybe who knows about what is going to happen and what the costs are and various things like that. So these are all, again, for groups to come under. These are kind of headings, and I'm talking on, just taking quite a bit on from others, but just any last points from people before we close?
I'm just thinking about Debbie and your Death Loss Cafe, the Death Cafe stuff. I'm wondering if that's a way to merge the, you know, this funeral, the burial society thing, the kind of meetup accent, the society part of it. I'm wondering if there's a thing there, cohesive thing.
Yes, come in, Laura.
Yeah, it was just a question with regards to the Death Cafe. I signed up to become a facilitator, but I kind of stayed away because there were certain constraints that the organisers put on it. So I was thinking at that time, well, I'll just make my own. So do you use the main model, or do you do your own thing? And if so, would it be something that we could make, to include the Death Society, which would be fantastic?
Can you hear me now? I'm talking.
Yes, that's good. Carry on.
Okay. So it used to be called a Death Cafe.
It's not that brilliant.
I've changed it recently. I've changed it to become a Lost Cafe now.
Oh, Lost Cafe. Right, okay. So it's your thing, it's your... Yeah.
So she wrote it in the chat.
Yeah. Can I just add just a point, Matiga? Perhaps we need to have some birth cafes.
There was something that took place actually, which was obviously mainstream. So yeah, I think so from a perspective of the Black community. Yeah, definitely.
So again, the two are in my head because I suppose it's to do with Ori and what we're coming in with. And it kind of and I think it's to do with the certification, the birth certificate and the implications of that, and the death certificate, the implications of that, which is a whole other discussion. You know, your ticket to ride out, so called, you know, and where does that really go? Where do you really go? Blah, blah, blah. And the investment of our straw man and all that. But Queenie, quickly.
Oh, right. What's been sitting on my head is the child loss and appeasement work that I've been doing. And just because you've been talking about the merging of the birthing and the birthing and the deathing experience, they're kind of, they're a continuum of each other. And I have professionally have that experience as a midwife and as a end-of-life carer. So that's how I've merged the two things myself. But I'm actually thinking about, is there some kind of specialist area for child loss and appeasement? Again, I've spoken with Kesheni, Sister Kesheni, about this before. about that child loss work and things around, you know, unfulfilled pregnancy, termination, miscarriage, etc.
Abortion, etc. Yes. So again, that's another group or steering aspect that people would come into, and so on. Final points from anyone or from others? Well, truly, really give thanks for this evening's things. Thank you so much, Auntie Jean. You've really provided a platform, and we can see how tired you are. You've really been on it this week, so we really, really appreciate that this has come through African Culture Market.
Auntie Jean is phenomenal, man.
It's just been great.
Thank you.
Man, I've seen you being
Without a
hosted
doubt.
like crazy, man. You're amazing.
Thank you.
And Laura, thank you.
Cause.
Yeah, Laura, really thank you. You presented something that we can really hold on to and feel confident with and want to grow and expand, and really appreciate your looking to us to support you. And I hope that all of us here have you do use that opportunity and come in and choose to take leadership about this. That is really what we now need to rise to. We cannot be under it. Oh, we're sort of, no, we, you know, yeah, we're taking leadership in our way, in this way. We're not being the boss and the leaders and saying we're the only ones. No, we're taking leadership of ourselves within this. And we're taking leadership and bringing it to the community in the way that we have towards that. And we're welcoming others to contribute and become leaders with us. And at any time, any one of us, in whatever we do, all we are is first among equals. Yes? So that allows us to do the work that we have to do. And there's no other agenda or personal blah blahs. And Laura came to us as a group that came from African Culture Market meetings. And, you know, we have that as part of our inverted commas identity of being present. And I'd like us to remember that in going forward in the stages and the journey that we are on. And I think that's it. And final word, Auntie Jean, the host.
Oh gosh, I would say thank you to Laura and also to Yvonne for having the insight for when she came to you to take it on board and put her underneath your wing and help her along. So brilliant presentation. Wouldn't believe it was your first time. Absolutely wonderful. The way you've laid it out, the way you set it out, it was nice and clear and very easy for everybody to follow, even though it's a sort of like it's a hard subject, really. And to put everything together into one package is such a brilliant idea. And I know you're going to go far with it, and we're going to do all we can to help you with that. And once we get these other meetings out of the way, and you've got a more, you know, a list of people of, you know, then that would be an absolutely brilliant presentation to put out and keep putting out and put out like a little ad. If you could do a little video ad, and I can put that on the African Culture Market and show that as a regular thing, you know, so it's something is out there. And as I said, you can go onto the YouTube or put onto the Facebook. And as I said, now we're part of Black Culture Radio, so you can go out on that. So you can do a voice one and you can do a video one, or the video one with a voice, you can go on the radio. So there's lots of potential, and there's lots of ways that we can help to promote and you know, let more people hear and know of what you're doing, which is, in turn helps everybody else. So thank you.
A question, Auntie Jean. You know, I was thinking, Sister Shanice, I've got good connections with, but I know her particular show is you know, it has a particular theme. But do you know which one of the presenters, if not, I haven't asked Sister Shanice yet, which one of the presenters on Galaxy might be willing to interview Laura?
I was just going to say, I would say Kwame, sorry.
I was going to say Griot Chinyere.
Yeah, Griot
yes.
can
Oh,
do
I
that.
know Chineri. We went to college together. Would you believe? In
Oh,
Lewisham.
wow.
Okay, I didn't know I didn't even know she was a Galaxy. Oh yeah, I'll hit her
She's
up.
at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let me make a note. Okay, cool. I'll ask her and everybody. I'll ask her to interview Laura then.
Okay, that would be brilliant.
I just feel so blessed. Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you.
Sorry to ask.
No problem. Because she's dealt with Kesheni with the deaf and that. So yeah, so that kind of will follow off beautifully.
Okay, give thanks, people. Have a good evening, have a good night's sleep, and look forward to information that we send out, and you're registering for the next session. And Laura, you will let us know any forms and so that we're going to need in order to join.
And what date in April?
Mechanics are.
And what date in April? Are you going to do the 2-day session, or are you going to just do the a couple of hours on the Sunday?
Yeah, so Laura, you need to kind of give us a date, come back with a date, and we can have a look at a sense of time and what the content of that is. We'll need to be on that from now.
Right.
As well.
Okay.
And bear in mind the advert.
Yes, I will. Yes. Okay. I've got work to do.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, if we get a timetable of when something can go out, we can start to look at the marketing process and things like that. All that's part of it as well in terms of what we do, the strategy, which is Yvonne, the strategist. So we've got expertise on board to get us forward, and that's really wonderful. We've actually got, we're in that space. All right, I want to say no more. Give thanks to people. Have a really good night, and look forward to our meeting again. Ashe.
Ashe, ashe, ashe. Good night.
Good night.
See you all.
And people want to if people want to save the chat, just go into where the chat is, the buttons on the right. And I'm taking over from you. I'm just saying this is normally used, and just say save chat. So any information in the chat you will have yourselves.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Well done, Laura.
Thank you.
Okay. See you.
Okay. See you.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.